So are we close to getting to the heart of state capture? I'm joined now by advocate Stefanie Fick of OUTA, the Organisation for Undoing Tax Abuse. Stefanie, thank you so much for joining us. So, I mean, to see Brian Molefe standing in the dock, this is a man who we've seen before heading up Eskom, heading up Transnet, and then, of course, crying at the State Capture Commission. But to see him in the dock was quite a moment, along with Anosh Singh and two others, of course. How significant do you think today is in getting to the bottom of the rot at our SOEs?
I really think it's a step in the right direction. I mean, there's still a long way to go. There's quite a few names out there that is still missing. But I think this is really a significant step in the direction where, you know, the more known individuals and implicated is starting to appear before court. Because I think for a long time we got the impression that the politicians and the names that we know are being protected. And I think this is one of the cases where we've seen that, you know, all the individuals are starting to be brought before court, and some of the more known names are now appearing before court. So it is a step in the right direction, but I hope that we are not resting on our laurels, that, you know, the Hawks and the NPA, the ID will continue pushing forward, continue bringing the individuals before court, that we will see the important individuals before court. In other words, not just, for example, if you just think about Babita you know, the fact that her murderers appear before court, but a year afterwards, we still haven't really seen any prosecutions for the corruption. So we should not forget what is important, and that the implicated should really be brought, you know, before.
Yeah, you're right. It has taken a year to see the suspension of the CFO and the CEO at Tembisa Hospital, and it's taken a year for the Premier to institute a proper independent probe. I just want to pick up on something that Annelien van den Heever, who's Anosh Singh's lawyer, said in that piece we've just watched. She was basically saying you can't bring people into court unless you're absolutely ready. You can't arrest people and then make them wait years. Does she have a point?
Yes, of course. I think if you just really consider when the crime happened, and now that they are arrested, there is this you know, you would hope that the state is got their house in order and that they are ready to prosecute. That's not to say that there may not be reasons for the state to request certain postponements. I mean, for example, they need to provide all the evidence to the accused and their legal representatives. But why are we postponing cases? So they've got bail now, and we've seen so many examples where, you know, cases are just dragged on because of applications by legal representatives. And I think one particular name come to mind. I mean, our former president, it has taken an enormous amount of time for the whole weapons debacle to come before court. So it's, you know, it's a bit rich for, you know, just the profession to say, but we expect the state to be ready. Of course we do. Who says they're not? But we need this trial to be speedily, not just for the accused, but also for the state. And all we can advocate for at this point is, firstly, hope this is not the last arrest of state capture individuals. And then secondly, that these types of trials will not take us 10 years to come to some type of conclusion. That if the defense is ready, let's rock and roll and let's see what is the end result.
I mean, it's interesting because when I spoke to the investigating directorate spokesperson, she said, look, they are seeking people such as Salim Essa. And then Annelien van den Heever says, well, if you're going to join the Guptas, you know, why should we sit here and wait, kind of thing. So I suppose, you know, I think the concern for South Africans is exactly what you're talking about, the delays, that these outstanding issues, when you're trying to create the big picture of how a potential state capture network operated, with everyone playing their part and everyone understanding what they had to do to rob the state, if you have a significant person who's not appearing, it could all collapse, couldn't it?
It can, and I think this plays into the whole argument that just as there are certain rights for an individual and accused. Specifically, when you become an accused, there's certain constitutional rights. Also, the state has got certain rights. So, you know what, I actually want to say, and this may sound a bit funny, but, you know, the state didn't draft the modus operandi. The state didn't decide who is going to be involved in this. And the accused, unfortunately, and that is the allegation, we're not saying that they are guilty, but that is the allegation that if you look at the circumstances and if you look at the facts of these cases, is that it was really a mechanism that, you know, people in positions, making sure that other people are in positions, using one another. It is, you know, money laundering, syndicates and all of that. State capture isn't an easy charge sheet. It isn't an easy case to prosecute. So I do think that, you know, despite the NPA taking a while and there's a lot of criticism, one also has, you know, we have to look at the bigger picture and we have to look at reality. And that in reality, these are difficult cases to prosecute. And, you know, it's not always all about the accused. What is the NPA doing? The NPA is prosecuting cases on behalf of the public because, you know, the bonus mores say that it's against the law to steal. It's against the law to commit fraud. It's against the law to contravene sections of the Public Finance Management Act. So in other words, they also have a duty on behalf of, you know, all of us. So there must be leeway and it all should be reasonable. It's not just all about the accused. It's about the state trying to prove the case in a court of law to say that you are guilty of certain offences.
We've certainly seen that the NPA's investigating directorate on a real roll in the last 3 months or so. They've got some other big cases still to come. For example, we haven't seen significant Eskom arrests as yet. What big fish do you think we're still going to get? Or do you think today was probably the biggest we're going to see?
Oh, I hope not. I hope really this is the beginning of just, you know, bigger things. Salim Essa, the Gupta brothers, there's, you know, those are just the names that come to mind. And unfortunately, although Anosh Singh, very interestingly, and Brian Molefe was also involved in Eskom, if you look at Eskom, there's other individuals that's involved there. Just on a high level, what happened with state capture, it's really, you know, sometimes political appointments, in other words, ministers, making sure that certain people are appointed in certain positions. So it is a whole network. And I don't think that the state will be successful if they prosecute everybody all at once. You'll have to divide this and look at the cases where you have better cases against others. To come back to your question, I really sincerely hope not. I hope the NPA is on the roll and that they're going to hit this ball out of the park. And really, I think as society, we've become despondent. Is, you know, no real arrests, no real prosecutions, and that they have an opportunity now to show us that they are on the road of recovery, because the NPA was there was state capture in the NPA. They struggled for a very long time to do anything, and despite each and every day crimes being committed, they still need to address this elephant in the room, which is state capture. So hopefully this is really just the beginning of good things. And as I think civil society, we've been very patient. So I would actually want to just say, don't drop the ball again. And hopefully we will see all the big names out there. And one of the names that really comes to mind is, for example, our former Minister of Mineral Resources, who is currently still a chairperson of a committee in Parliament, who was, you know, formed, in our view, parts in what happened at Eskom. So, yeah, hopefully this is just the beginning.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us this evening. That is Advocate Stefanie Fick. She's from OUTA, the Organisation for Undoing Tax Abuse. Yes, of course, this is a big step today with the arrests, but those arrested, innocent until proven guilty, and the NPA is going to have to show its evidence in court. But of course, as we heard from the NPA's ID earlier, they have done a lot of background work to actually underpin some of the suggestions of problems that came up through the Zondo report.